I love the value that Alex Hormozi gives across. It's easy to understand, it's logical, and it's based in reality, most importantly as well. But there is one thing that I absolutely disagree with him on. Alex sent out an email to his email list the other day talking about the 4-part persuasion framework. And in this, he gives a step-by-step process which teaches you to be more persuasive. This is how the email starts. If you could only pick one skill in business, it would be to get other people to do stuff for you. Because if you only had that, you would get everything else done. And then he goes on to the actual framework. This is so simple, no one actually does it. When you want to persuade someone, you want to do 4 things. Number 1, add good stuff they get for taking the desired actions. This is when you're selling or you're marketing to people. Number 2, take away bad stuff for taking the desired action. Number 3, add bad stuff if they do nothing or something different. And number 4, take away good stuff if they do nothing or something different. So if we scroll down a little bit on the email, he has attached a meme and it's absolutely hilarious. So on this meme here, he's got the IQ scale, and the low IQ person says more good stuff, less bad stuff when it comes to persuasion. The high IQ person is exactly the same as well. They understand the principles. It's simple frameworks that they've applied. And this person also says, the Jedi Master, the high IQ person, more good stuff, less bad stuff. And then you've got the people who are average IQ in the middle, who Alex basically is suggesting overanalyze everything. Neuro-linguistic programming, mirroring, cognitive biases, assumed premises, behavioral dynamic response. Hilarious, right? But this is actually the part that I disagree with him on. Because what he's saying in this email is, it sounds simple enough, this 4-step framework. If you apply it, you're all set, right? But in reality, persuasion goes way deeper than this. It's about understanding individual motivations, individual biases, human psychology. And when you can understand some of these things, then you can amplify persuasion. If you were to look at Alex Hormozi's content, his previous businesses from a persuasion perspective, you would see that he actually has a very deep understanding of persuasion and of human psychology. So deep, in fact, that it's ingrained in everything he does, from the previous businesses he's ran to his content on his YouTube channel. He uses very advanced persuasion techniques. And if he was to apply that simple 4-step persuasion framework to his own stuff and to just keep with that, because remember, stick to the simple parts and don't overcomplicate things, you would find, I truly believe, that he would be worth nowhere near as much money as he currently is today. And it goes back to this thing which I've always said, which is the best way to read people. It's a persuasion technique in itself. Best way to read people, to read people's intentions, to get a feel on who they are, is to look at what they do, their actions, instead of the words they say, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But if you look at Alex's actions, he actually uses a lot of heavy persuasion principles, heavy psychology principles. He understands the nuances and things like this. He doesn't just apply that simple 4-step framework, even though it might be valuable. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, who is this guy talking about persuasion when Alex is over there doing over $100 million a year? And that's a fair point. I'm not at Alex's scale, but I have consulted for companies using behavioral science and persuasion principles, and I've added around about $100 million in revenue onto those companies in total. So considering I'm at 0.01% of Alex's audience size, it's not bad, right? I do understand a fair bit about persuasion and how that works. Like I was saying, always watch people's actions, don't look at the words they say, right? So if we look at Alex Hormozi's content, what does he do? He starts each video with a pattern interrupt. Persuasion. Doesn't talk about it in the framework though. He mentions his classic line of, I'm a $100 million CEO, I've got nothing to sell you. What is he doing right there at the start of the conversation? He is adding authority into what he's saying, because he knows that people listen to authority figures, and that is how he stands out from the typical marketing BS stuff. This is very valuable stuff. This shows a deep understanding of psychology and persuasion principles, right? His top 3 book recommendations are all about persuasion.
They're the only books that I have studied and I reread every so often in no order. Number 1 is Influence by Robert Cialdini. The second book is Persuasion, also by Robert Cialdini. Third is 50 Scientific Ways of Getting to Yes, which is also Cialdini's.
His first 3 books there out of that list, which, you know, is in no particular order, are by Robert Cialdini, who is the godfather of persuasion. What does that tell you? It tells you he clearly has a deep understanding, you know, and he's got amazing engagement tactics and he knows how to keep engagement up. And yes, he probably uses the odd bot comment here and there. When I started talking about persuasion techniques on this channel, I started talking about the difference between what the gurus are telling you to do versus what they're actually doing. And I think that a lot of gurus oversimplify or sell persuasion techniques without actually having used them effectively. But on the flip side of this, Alex, unlike the fake gurus out there who just tell you what to do, Alex actually applies these persuasion principles into everything he does. So he's a real practitioner of this stuff. And he understands it. So this persuasion framework that he gives across here, it is absolutely helpful, no doubt about it. You will get somewhere if you apply this stuff. But understand, if you really want to excel at it, you really want to excel at persuasions, there's a lot of deeper layers, there's a lot of biases, individual differences, a lot of nuances to it as well. And truly, if you look at the actions of what Alex has done, he has used these deeper understandings, these nuances to his advantage, and he has excelled because of that, right? It's not because of this framework here, even though this framework was a little piece of the puzzle, it's nowhere near the majority of the puzzle. So I agree with a lot of stuff that Alex says, and on this point here, I think it's important that we be realistic with people and that we tell people really how the levers work when it comes to, you know, persuasion and psychology and getting people to do things. Yes, that framework is helpful. Yes, it is simple, and he simplified it for accessibility purposes, right? But he is also a master of persuasion, and he applies a crap ton of different persuasion principles in every single thing he does. And so if you're serious about persuasion and wanting to get better at it, the 4-step checklist is a good place to start, but you really want to go deeper. You really want to understand what activates things, what amplifies things, what gets people really moving. And so a good framework to apply to this is, once again, look at what people do, don't look at what they say. But maybe I'm just overanalyzing it, but hey, that's exactly what I do, all right? So if you enjoyed this video, guys, please like the video, leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts on things, and take it easy. See you in the next video.